Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Good to be here.
So today we're diving into this really interesting set of digital documents he sent over.
Yeah, it's quite a mix.
We've got what looks like an about page for something called Ordinary Technology on GitHub.
Right.
And then there's this game interface. Seems connected.
Looks like it. And some other pieces too, labeled Ordinary Access Panel. A bit cryptic.
Definitely. So the plan is to sort of unpack these, piece together what they tell us about this ordinary technology and, maybe the bigger picture.
Sounds good. It's like digital archaeology, trying to reconstruct the story from these fragments. An introduction, an interactive part, maybe a peek behind the curtain.
Exactly. Okay, let's start with that about HTML file. First thing you see, welcome to the Digital Recycling Hub.
Straight away, recycling sets the theme.
Totally.
And then it dives into these desktop recycling facts. Talks about
the scale of e-waste.
Yeah, the hazardous materials mixed with valuable ones, how much energy recycling saves.
And that figure, only about 20% of e-waste gets recycled.
Yeah.
That's sobering.
It really frames the problem they're likely focused on. And calling it a digital recycling hub makes you think, right, is it just info or are there tools involved?
Good question. The page also gives a shout out to Design Me at Instagram.
So acknowledging collaborators.
And mentions getting help from GPT, Claude, and Gemini for the content.
Oh, interesting. They're upfront about using AI. That tells you something about their approach. Modern, maybe pragmatic.
Yeah. And technically, it mentions a typing animation, WebGL shader background.
So they care about the presentation. WebGL suggests they want something visually engaging, not just plain text, even on an about page.
Right, polish matters. Now, the game.html file, this is where it gets pretty intriguing. You land in this void command terminal.
Okay, a terminal interface. Feels very sci-fi or techie.
Yeah, and it seems to be a launcher for different scenarios or games. Look at these types: ordinary recycling, ordinary defense, ordinary technology, Mars beta.
There's that ordinary again. And ordinary recycling, right there in the game list, reinforces that core theme.
It's definitely deliberate. It suggests they're trying to engage people with recycling in like a more interactive way.
Making it a game, maybe for education, or just engagement.
Could be both. There are other games listed too. Navigate, Hydroflux, Riff Run. Their connection isn't obvious immediately, but it gives descriptions for 3 available ones. Containment, securing anomalies, defense grid, repelling threats, hive prediction, analyzing swarms.
Okay, so not all directly about putting bottles in bins, more abstract concepts, defense analysis.
Yeah, it says at least 3 more in development. It's a whole suite of things.
The variety is fascinating of the very direct, ordinary recycling game, and then these others, maybe different layers of gamification. Direct learning plus broader problem-solving skills.
That's a really interesting take. This game file also gives a real-world contact, Damien Richeter, on Facebook for contributing.
So it's an active project, looking for collaborators, coders, artists, testers.
It shows it's not just static. And technically, this file is dense. Code for the terminal look, game launch logic, tooltips.
Tooltips with dig deeper options, you said.
Yeah, like get a quick summary or click for more info in a modal window.
That suggests different levels of engagement for users, plus those cycling WebGL backgrounds you mentioned.
2 different ones, switching every minute. They put serious effort into this interface.
No doubt, it's not just a placeholder.
Okay, lastly, this ordinary access panel feels more internal.
Maybe. It's labeled Beta 2.8.2026 Vibes.
2026 vibes. Gives it a time frame, sort of a near future feel.
And then a very clear statement. The goal is to change the world one step at a time. Recycling.
Bam! No ambiguity there. Recycling is the mission.
Explicitly stated. Connects directly back to the About page in the recycling game.
It also gets specific about materials. HDPE is fully recyclable, and so is tin and aluminum.
Practical stuff. Things you find in your bins.
But then these warning messages pop up. Pending RAM bridge technology.
Now that's intriguing. RAM bridge technology. What could that be? Some new processing method. Infrastructure. Very cryptic.
Right. And it mentions a 3rd model generation interface, converting .ply to .glb using Blender.
Okay, so working with 3D models, common formats, maybe for visualizing things, designing parts, game assets.
Could be any of those.
Yeah.
It also mentions Free Diagnostics as part of their company, a company designed to recycle plastics and other materials.
A company. Okay, so it's not just a digital project. There seems to be a physical operation or service involved. Free Diagnostics suggests they offer some kind of assessment.
Yeah, likely identifying recyclables or something similar.
So let's try and pull this together.
Okay, We have the Digital Recycling Hub for info,
Right, awareness raising,
the Void Command Terminal with the Ordinary Recycling game, and others.
engagement, maybe education through interaction, gamification.
And this access panel, stating the goal, mentioning specific materials, hinting at new tech like RampBridge,
And confirming a link to a company offering diagnostics and focused on recycling plastics and materials.
It really feels like recycling is the absolute core, but they're tackling it from multiple angles. Information, games, actual technology development.
A multi-pronged strategy, yeah. Using digital tools to support or enhance a real-world mission. The digital hub informs, the games engage, the tech provides solutions.
So the organization behind Ordinary Technology, it seems to be more than just code on GitHub. That mention of a company is key.
Absolutely. It suggests an integration of digital platforms, perhaps community engagement, with actual recycling operations or services, bridging the digital and physical.
And how do all these bits fit? The info, the games, the tech warnings. It feels like they're building an ecosystem, maybe?
That's a good way to put it. An ecosystem where information flows, users can interact and learn, and underlying technology aims to improve the actual process. The games could even be, simulations or data gathering tools related to their tech.
So thinking about the future they're building, it sounds like one where tech is much more integrated into how we deal with recycling.
Yeah, making it more visible, maybe more interactive, possibly more efficient through new tech, like whatever that RampBridge is. And the 2026 vibes makes it feel tangible, not some far-off dream.
Okay, so summing up the key takeaways. Ordinary Technology, definitely focused on recycling. That's explicit.
Crystal clear from the access panel, the hub name, the specific game title.
The games suggest a broader engagement strategy, maybe gamified learning or related problem solving.
Right, and the hints about RampBridge technology, 3D modeling, free diagnostics that points to a company developing real-world tools and services.
Plus the shout out to a designer using AI. It signals a modern collaborative way of working.
It paints a picture of an organization using a mix of digital outreach, interactive experiences, and technological innovation, all centered on that recycling mission.
But questions remain, don't they?
Oh, definitely. Big ones.
Like, what is RampBridge technology? Why the warning? That's the big unknown.
Absolutely. And how do those other games, Defense Grid, Hive Prediction, Mars Beta, really tie into the core mission? Is it metaphorical, or is there a deeper link?
Good point. And the free diagnostics program, what does that actually entail? What materials beyond HDPE, tin, aluminum are they tackling?
Exactly. Understanding the scope of their practical operations would tell us a lot more. And that 2026 vibes, what are they aiming for by then?
It leaves you thinking. Here's maybe a final thought to chew on. Could this Ordinary Technology be showing us a new model?
How so?
Well, where serious environmental goals aren't just, corporate social responsibility footnotes, but are actually woven into the core product using engaging digital platforms and developing tangible tech solutions.
So moving beyond just policy or activism towards interactive, tech-driven participation.
Yeah. Maybe the future of making a difference involves these kinds of platforms, making complex things like global recycling challenges more accessible, more engaging for individuals through, ordinary technology aiming for extraordinary results.
That's a really provocative thought. Using the tools of the digital age, not just for entertainment or commerce, but to directly engage people in complex real-world problems like sustainability. This collection of digital clues certainly gives you a lot to think about.